The Bifrost had shattered. Odin Allfather, king of Asgard, felt the Rainbow Bridge's energy tear apart around him as reality itself convulsed. For a moment suspended between worlds, he glimpsed the infinite, not the 9 realms he had walked for millennia, but something far stranger. Dimensions folded through themselves in geometric impossibilities, purple-black energy that tasted wrong, a tunnel through the fabric of space that shouldn't exist. Then came impact. The Allfather crashed through 40 meters of ferrocrete and reinforced titanium, Gungnir's shaft clutched in one hand as his body carved a trench through what had once been a grain processing facility. Dust choked the air. Structural supports groaned. Odin rose slowly, armor scorched, feeling the wrongness in his bones. The Odin force flickered within him like a candle in a storm, present but diminished, as if the journey had severed some vital connection to Asgard itself. He surveyed his surroundings with a warrior's practiced eye. Ruined structures stretched in every direction, but these were no buildings he recognized. The architecture spoke of function over beauty, industrial efficiency rather than artistry. And beyond the ruins, the sky itself burned. Plasma fire rained from orbit in brilliant lances of superheated gas, each impact turning Earth to molten glass. Odin had witnessed the destruction of worlds before, but never like this. This was not conquest. This was annihilation. Contact! Unknown hostile, grid 773. The shout came in a language Odin's Allspeak translated automatically. He turned to see figures in angular armor taking defensive positions behind rubble, weapons trained on him. Not Asgardian, not any warriors he recognized. Their armor was green and tan, functional and battle-scarred. The weapons they carried hummed with an energy signature his senses couldn't quite classify. "Stand down," another voice, this one calmer but no less commanding. "I've got eyes on target. That's not Covenant." Odin raised Gungnir slowly, non-threateningly, though his grip remained firm. "I am Odin, son of Bor, king of..." The ground erupted. 4 figures burst from the rubble 50 meters away, their armor gleaming in shades of blue and purple that hurt to perceive. They stood nearly 3 meters tall, digitigrade legs ending in cloven hooves, and in their hands they carried blades that crackled with contained plasma. Behind them came smaller creatures, methane-breathing things in armor, and lean, predatory beings with energy shields flickering across their forearms. "Covenant!" The human warriors opened fire immediately. Their weapons spat armor-piercing rounds in controlled bursts, but the tall warriors' shields absorbed the impacts in flashes of hexagonal energy patterns. One of the tall warriors, elites, Odin's tactical mind cataloged, roared something in a guttural language and charged, its energy sword carved through ferrocrete like parchment. A human soldier screamed as plasma burned through armor. Odin moved. The Allfather crossed the distance in 3 strides, Gungnir's point intercepting the elite's swing. Asgardian Uru steel met Covenant plasma in a shower of sparks. The elite's mandibles spread in surprise, then rage. It pressed forward with strength that would have overwhelmed any mortal warrior. But Odin was no mortal. He turned the elite's momentum against it, Gungnir's shaft becoming a fulcrum that sent the warrior stumbling. Before it could recover, Odin drove the spear forward. The point punched through energy shields as if they didn't exist, through the elite's armor, through flesh and bone. The warrior collapsed with a gurgling roar. The remaining 3 elites hesitated. In that moment of uncertainty, Odin saw everything he needed to know. These were disciplined warriors, not mindless beasts. They fought with honor, even as they slaughtered. They would respond to strength. "Fall back to the rally point." The human commander's voice cut through the chaos. "Covering fire!" Odin called on the Odin force, feeling it respond sluggishly. Wrong. The energy that should have flowed like a river came in uncertain pulses. But it came. Lightning arced from Gungnir's point, not the devastating storm he could have summoned in Asgard, but enough. The bolt caught an elite mid-charge, shields overloading in a cascade of light. The warrior crashed to the ground, armor smoking. The humans retreated in disciplined order, covering each other with precise fire. Odin fell back with them, Gungnir keeping the remaining elites at bay. The smaller creatures, grunts he heard them called, advanced in squealing clusters, their weapons spitting superheated needles that burst in pink crystalline explosions. "Move, move, move!" The human commander fired a weapon that launched explosive rounds, each detonation buying precious seconds. "Pelican inbound. 30 seconds." Odin heard the craft before he saw it, twin engines screaming as an angular dropship dove through plasma fire with a pilot's desperate courage. Its bay doors were already open, a door gunner laying down, suppressing fire with a rotating cannon. "Go!" Odin planted Gungnir in the ground, and the Odin force responded. A shockwave of energy exploded outward, not the devastating blast he'd intended, but enough to stagger the Covenant forces. The humans scrambled aboard the Pelican. Odin followed, wrenching Gungnir free as plasma bolts scorched the air where he'd stood. The dropship banked hard, engines roaring as it climbed away from the kill zone. Through the open bay, Odin watched the ruins recede, and beyond them, he saw the full scope of devastation. The entire planet was dying. Continents glowed with the heat of plasma bombardment. Cities burned, and in orbit he could see them, massive vessels of alien design, beautiful and terrible, raining holy fire upon the world below. "What the hell are you?" The human commander removed his helmet, revealing a face weathered by combat and loss. His eyes held the haunted look Odin had seen in too many warriors. And what was that? Lightning? Odin met his gaze steadily. "I am Odin Allfather, and I have crossed from a distant realm. But the question that matters is this: what war have I fallen into, and why do your enemies kill with such totality?" The commander's laugh was bitter. "War, that's one word for it. We call it survival. Welcome to Harvest, or what's left of it. I'm Sergeant Avery Johnson, UNSC Marines." He gestured to the burning world below. "That down there. That's what the Covenant does. They glass planets, turn them to lifeless rock. They've been doing it to us for years, and we're losing." Odin looked at the faces surrounding him in the Pelican's Bay. Young warriors, barely more than children by Asgardian reckoning, wearing armor pitted with plasma scoring. They looked at him with expressions mixing hope and suspicion and exhaustion beyond their years. Then, Odin said quietly, "It seems the Allfather has arrived where he is most needed. Tell me of this war, Sergeant. Tell me of these Covenant, and tell me what humanity requires to survive." Johnson's expression shifted, something like respect flickering across his features. "That's a long conversation, old man. But first, we've got someone who needs to decide if you're an asset or a threat. Ever met a Spartan?" Before Odin could ask what manner of warrior that was, Johnson gestured forward. Odin looked through the cockpit and saw their destination, a UNSC frigate in low orbit, its hull scarred by combat. And on its bridge, he knew, decisions would be made about his fate. The Allfather tightened his grip on Gungnir. He had faced gods and monsters, conquered realms and defended worlds. But as the Pelican docked with humanity's warship, Odin sensed he had entered a war unlike any other. A war where ancient power might mean nothing if these determined mortals fell to extinction. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Spartans never die. The frigate's artificial gravity engaged as the Pelican settled into its bay. Through the bulkhead, Odin heard the sounds of a warship preparing for battle. Klaxons shouted orders, the hum of weapons systems charging. Humanity was losing its war for survival. Perhaps, Odin thought, it was time a king remembered what it meant to fight beside warriors rather than command them from a throne. The UNSC frigate's debriefing room was stark and utilitarian. Gray walls, a single metal table, and overhead lights that cast harsh shadows. Odin sat with Gungnir resting across his lap, watching the mirrored observation window with the patience of a warrior who'd endured countless such evaluations. On Asgard, he would have been the one conducting the interrogation. Here, he was the unknown variable. The door hissed open. Sergeant Johnson entered first, followed by a woman in naval officer's uniform whose insignia marked her as the frigate's captain. But it was the third figure that commanded Odin's full attention. The Spartan stood over 2 meters tall in armor that was a masterwork of human engineering. Mjolnir-powered assault armor, Odin's tactical mind cataloged, layered titanium alloy plating over a tech suit, energy shields humming at frequencies his enhanced senses could detect, and a neural interface linking warrior to machine. The armor was forest green and battle-worn, scoring from plasma fire visible across the chest plate. But it was the golden visor that held Odin's gaze, reflective, emotionless, revealing nothing of the warrior within. "This is Master Chief Petty Officer John 117, the captain said. Her voice carried the crisp authority of command. "Captain Miranda Keyes, UNSC in amber-clad. You've already met Sergeant Johnson." Odin inclined his head respectfully. "An honor to meet humanity's defenders." The Spartan said nothing, simply stood with the absolute stillness of a seasoned warrior assessing potential threat. Odin recognized the posture. He'd taught similar evaluation techniques to Asgard's Einherjar for centuries. "Let's dispense with pleasantries," Keyes said, pulling up a holographic display. Tactical data flickered in the air, armor composition analysis, energy signature readings, combat effectiveness assessment from the engagement on Harvest. "Our sensors recorded energy emissions from you that don't match any known technology. Lightning generation, superhuman strength, and a weapon that penetrated Sangheli energy shields like they weren't there." "Sangheli?" Odin asked. "The elites," Johnson clarified. "Each Covenant species has a proper name. The Sangheli are their warrior caste, honor-bound, skilled, and absolutely dedicated to wiping us out in the name of their religion." Odin's eye, he still wore the patch over the empty socket, that ancient sacrifice for wisdom, narrowed. "Religion drives this genocide. The Covenant believes activating ancient installations called halos will begin their great journey to godhood," Keyes said grimly. "What they don't know, or refuse to believe, is that the halos are weapons. Superweapons designed to sterilize the galaxy of all sentient life." The Allfather absorbed this, his expression darkening. He had dealt with religious zealotry before, had seen faith twisted into justification for atrocity. But this, and how did humanity discover this truth? "The hard way," Johnson muttered. "After they'd already started glassing our colonies." The Spartan finally spoke, his voice flat and controlled through the helmet's speakers. "Your combat effectiveness is documented. Threat assessment. Potentially hostile, but demonstrated tactical cooperation. Question. Origin. Capabilities. And intention." Odin appreciated the directness. "I am Odin, son of Bor, Allfather of Asgard and king of the 9 realms. I came to your universe through an accident, a malfunction in our dimensional bridge technology coinciding with what you call slip space. As for capabilities," he raised Gungnir slightly, "I am a warrior who has lived for millennia, accumulated power through study and sacrifice, and led armies across realms you would call dimensions. Magic, Keyes said flatly. You're claiming magic. I am claiming mastery of forces your science has not yet classified, Odin corrected. Though I find my power diminished here. The energy I command, the Odin Force, draws from Asgard's cosmic well. Separated from it, I am reduced, still formidable by your standards, but not what I once was. The Spartan's head tilted fractionally. Odin recognized the gesture. John 1:17 was receiving data through his neural link, probably from an AI analyzing his statements. The chief wants to know if you can be killed, Johnson said bluntly. Because Oni is going to want to know the same thing, and their methods of testing are less friendly. Oni? Odin asked. Office of Naval Intelligence, Keyes explained. Section 3 in particular. They handle unconventional assets and threats. If they decide you're useful, they'll want to study you, dissect your capabilities, put you under a microscope until they understand every aspect of your power. And if they decide I'm a threat, the room's temperature seemed to drop. Master Chief's hand didn't move toward his MA-5C assault rifle, but Odin sensed the Spartan's combat readiness increase infinitesimally. This was a warrior who could kill without hesitation, without remorse, because duty demanded it. Then they'll try to eliminate you, Keyes said quietly. Probably by sending more Spartans, possibly by other means. Oni protects humanity by any method necessary, and necessary is a word they interpret broadly. Odin smiled, though there was no humor in it. Your intelligence service reminds me of certain advisors I've dealt with in Asgard, those who believe the ends justify any means, who sacrifice honor for pragmatism. He looked directly at the golden visor. But you, Spartan, you are no politician's tool, are you? You are a warrior who understands duty's weight. For a long moment, the Spartan was silent. Then, duty means protecting humanity, whatever the cost. Even your own humanity? Odin asked softly. Johnson shifted uncomfortably. Keyes' expression tightened. The Allfather had touched something raw, he realized, a wound these people carried collectively. The Spartan program created humanity's greatest defenders, Keyes said carefully. Without the Spartans, we'd have lost this war years ago. The methods used to create them. That's classified, but every Spartan too is a hero who saved countless lives. Odin heard what she didn't say. The Spartans were children once, taken, trained, augmented, turned into weapons because humanity's survival demanded weapons. The Allfather had lived long enough to recognize necessary evil when he saw it, had committed his own share of dark deeds in Asgard's name. But he'd also learned the cost such necessities extracted. I understand, Odin said quietly. War demands sacrifice. Kings demand warriors. The question is whether those warriors are honored for their service or simply used until they break. Master Chief's posture shifted almost imperceptibly. Odin wondered if the Spartan was surprised to be understood, or simply calculating how this knowledge affected threat assessment. What do you want? The chief's question was direct, cutting through the philosophical discussion. I want to return to Asgard, Odin answered honestly. To my throne, my people, my sons, but I suspect that will not be simple. The energies that brought me here are beyond my current understanding. Until I find a way home, I will not stand idle while a war of extinction unfolds around me. You want to fight, Johnson said. Join the UNSC. I want to survive, Odin corrected. And survival in this war, I suspect, requires allies. But understand this, I am no one's subordinate. I have commanded armies when your ancestors were still learning to forge bronze. I will fight beside you, but not beneath you. Keyes and Johnson exchanged glances. The Spartan remained motionless, but Odin sensed analysis happening behind that golden visor. "That's going to be a problem," Keyes said finally. "The UNSC has a chain of command. Every asset operates within military hierarchy." "Then consider me an independent contractor," Odin replied. "I will coordinate with your forces, share intelligence, fight your enemies, but I answer to no authority save my own judgment. Oni will never accept that. Then Oni and I will have a problem." Odin's voice carried the weight of kingship. "But I suspect practical warriors like yourselves understand the value of a powerful ally, even one who refuses a leash." Johnson actually laughed. "I like him. He's got balls, I'll give him that. Probably going to get him killed when Section 3 shows up, but I respect the stance." Master Chief finally moved, stepping closer to the table. "Demonstration. Show capabilities. Prove combat value." Odin understood immediately. The Spartan wanted to test him, warrior to warrior, not to dominate, but to understand, to see if this stranger's claims matched reality. "A sparring match?" Odin asked. "Simulation," the chief replied. "Holodeck training scenario. You versus Covenant forces. We observe and assess." It was fair, Odin admitted, and it gave him opportunity to test his own limits in this strange universe. The Odin force still flickered uncertainly within him, responding to his will, but not with the absolute power he'd known in Asgard. He needed to understand his reduced capabilities before real combat tested them fatally. "Acceptable," Odin said, rising. Gungnir gleamed in the harsh lighting. "But afterward, regardless of your assessment, I require information about this war, about the Covenant, about these Halo weapons. If I am to fight in this conflict, I will understand what I'm fighting for and against." Keyes nodded slowly. "Fair enough. Chief, take him to Bay 3. Standard Covenant boarding scenario, difficulty maximum." As Odin followed the Spartan from the debriefing room, Johnson called after them. "Try not to break our best soldier, old man. We're kinda short on Spartans these days." The Allfather smiled grimly. He'd broken warriors before, molded them into legends through trial and hardship. But as he walked beside humanity's Master Chief, both warriors moving with the predatory grace of those who'd survived countless battles, Odin suspected this test would reveal more about himself than the Spartan. The corridor outside thrummed with the frigate's power systems. Crew members pressed against bulkheads as the towering Spartan passed, their expressions mixing awe and relief. These people saw the Spartans as saviors, Odin realized. Living legends in a war humanity was losing. What would they see in him, he wondered, when the Allfather proved whether godhood meant anything against plasma fire and extinction. The holodeck materialized around Odin in geometric patterns of hard light, Forerunner technology repurposed by human ingenuity, though the UNSC engineers probably didn't fully understand what they'd reverse engineered. The simulation resolved into a Covenant corvette's interior, purple and silver architecture that curved in ways human designs never would, gravity lifts humming between decks, and the acrid scent of plasma coolant thick in the recycled air. Master Chief stood in the observation booth above, his armored form visible through transparent aluminum. Beside him, Captain Keyes and Johnson watched tactical displays that would monitor every aspect of Odin's performance. "Scenario parameters," the chief's voice came through speakers embedded in the walls. "Covenant boarding party, 4 Sangheli zealots, 12 Ungoi, 6 Kigyar snipers, 2 Megalic Golo bond pairs. Objective: eliminate all hostiles, reach the bridge, prevent reactor detonation. Time limit: 8 minutes. Odin hefted Gungnir, feeling the familiar weight. "And if I fail?" "The simulation ends. You don't. A pause. But the real scenario kills entire squads of Marines. The Allfather nodded, understanding. This was more than testing his capabilities. It was showing him the brutal reality of the war he'd entered. The Covenant didn't take prisoners. They didn't offer quarter. They came to exterminate, and humanity fought with the desperation of a species facing extinction. "Begin," Keyes said. The simulation activated with a pulse of light. Odin heard them before he saw them, the high-pitched chattering of grunts, methane breathers in their distinctive triangular masks. They rounded the corner in a cluster, plasma pistols charging with green luminescence. Odin moved. The Allfather crossed 15 meters in 2 strides, Gungnir sweeping in a wide arc. The spear's Uru steel caught the first grunt across its methane pack, rupturing the tank in a violent explosion that sent 2 more tumbling. The remaining grunts squealed in panic, their shots going wild. Odin dispatched them with clinical efficiency. These were cannon fodder, meant to overwhelm through numbers rather than skill. A plasma bolt sizzled past his ear. Odin spun, locating the shooter. Kigyar sniper on an elevated catwalk, energy shield protecting its torso while its beam rifle tracked for another shot. The Odin force responded to his will, sluggish but present. Lightning arced from Gungnir's point. Not the devastating bolt he could have summoned in Asgard, but enough. The electrical discharge overloaded the Kigyar's shield and flung the creature backward, its rifle clattering to the deck below. Energy weapon effectiveness against shields, 73%. An AI voice, likely monitoring the simulation, reported clinically. Below projected Thor-level mythology baseline. Odin grimaced. The AI was right. In Asgard, that bolt would have vaporized the target. Here, diminished by distance from his power source and the strange interaction with this universe's physics, he was reduced to mere superhuman levels. Still superhuman, though. The corridor ahead opened into a gravity lift chamber. Odin saw movement above, elites descending on anti-gravity fields, their distinctive armor gleaming, energy swords already ignited. These weren't the minor warriors from Harvest. Zealots wore gold-trimmed armor and fought with religious fervor. The first zealot dropped, blade screaming toward Odin's head. The Allfather caught the strike on Gungnir's shaft, feeling the plasma cut into Uru steel, not deeply, but enough to scar the ancient weapon. The elite was strong, far stronger than baseline humans, its augmented physiology and powered armor creating a warrior that could tear through Marines like parchment. But Odin had faced frost giants in single combat. He used the elite's momentum against it, redirecting the blade and driving Gungnir's point into the warrior's exposed neck joint. The elite gurgled, mandibles flaring, and collapsed. Its energy sword clattered away, plasma dissipating. 3 more zealots landed simultaneously, coordinating with practiced efficiency. They spread out, forcing Odin to divide his attention. One feinted left, while another rushed right, and the third aimed a plasma rifle at his center mass. Odin called on the Odin force more deeply, accepting the cost. His vision sharpened, time seeming to slow as enhanced perception allowed him to track all 3 threats. He threw Gungnir. The spear flew true. It always flew true, that was its enchantment, and took the plasma rifleman through the chest. But that left Odin momentarily unarmed against 2 sword-wielding zealots. The Allfather's lips curved in a battle smile. These young warriors thought him vulnerable. He caught the first elite's sword arm at the wrist, his strength surprising the warrior. In the instant of hesitation, Odin twisted, breaking the joint with a sickening crack. The elite howled, and Odin tore the energy sword from its grip, igniting the plasma blade in his own hand. The technology felt wrong, unstable, dangerous even to the wielder. But Odin had millennia of weapons mastery. He adapted in heartbeats, using the sword to parry the third zealot's strike while simultaneously kicking the injured elite into the gravity lift. The warrior tumbled upward, carried by the anti-gravity field. The remaining zealot pressed the attack with renewed fury, its mandibles spread in a war cry that echoed through the chamber. Their blades met in showers of plasma and light. Odin could feel the elite's skill. This was a warrior who'd trained for decades, who'd earned the right to wear zealot gold through countless battles. But decades meant nothing to millennia. Odin feinted high, drew the elite's guard up, and swept low. The energy sword carved through the warrior's leg at the knee. As the elite fell, Odin retrieved Gungnir from the corpse behind him and drove the spear through its opponent's helmet. 4 zealots eliminated, the AI reported. Time elapsed, 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Plasma exposure on left pauldron, minor energy burns. Combat effectiveness, exceptional. Odin didn't pause to acknowledge the assessment. The bridge lay ahead, through corridors that would certainly hold the remaining Covenant forces. He moved forward, his enhanced hearing detecting the distinctive sound of hunters, the Mgalak Golo, bond pairs of worm colonies piloting massive armor. The corridor opened into the bridge approach, and Odin's tactical instincts screamed warning. This was a kill zone. The 2 hunter pairs stood at opposite ends of the chamber, their fuel rod cannons already tracking toward him. Between them, Kigyar snipers occupied elevated positions with clean sight lines. The first fuel rod shot came like green fire. Odin dove behind a support pillar as the radioactive projectile impacted where he'd stood, leaving molten metal in its wake. A beam rifle shot seared past his shoulder, the snipers coordinating their fire with the hunters. This was the scenario that killed Marine squads, Odin realized. The Covenant had turned this approach into a shooting gallery, with nowhere to advance, without exposing oneself to overwhelming firepower. But the Allfather hadn't survived wars across 9 realms by fighting fair. Odin reached deep into the Odin Force, feeling its strain. The energy came reluctantly, fighting against whatever metaphysical barrier this universe imposed. But it came. He slammed Gungnir into the deck, and power exploded outward, not the reality-warping force he could command in Asgard, but enough. The shockwave buckled the deck plates, disrupted the hunter's aim, and sent the Kigyar snipers tumbling from their perches. In the chaos, Odin charged. A hunter's massive shield swept toward him like a building falling. Odin slid beneath it, Gungnir finding the exposed orange worms at the creature's back, the Lagolo colony's vulnerable point. The hunter collapsed with a sound like grinding metal, and its bond brother roared in anguish. The bereft hunter charged with suicidal fury. Odin had seen this before. Warriors who'd lost their closest companions, their brothers, consumed by grief and rage. He understood that pain intimately. But understanding didn't mean mercy. Odin met the charge head-on. Gungnir's point finding the weak point in the hunter's armor where neck met chest. The creature shuddered and fell, collapsing beside its partner. The remaining hunter pair fired simultaneously, their fuel rod cannons painting the chamber in radioactive green. Odin threw himself into a roll, feeling the heat of near misses, and came up throwing. Gungnir flew like lightning, punching through one hunter's armor. Before the creature could fall, Odin called on the Odin Force one final time. Lightning streamed from his outstretched hand, arcing across the chamber to engulf the final hunter. The electrical discharge cooked the Lagolo worms in their armor, the colony dying in spasms of agony. Odin retrieved Gungnir, breathing heavily. The effort had cost him. He could feel the Odin Force depleted. Would need time to recover what little reserve this universe allowed him. But the path to the bridge lay open. He crossed the threshold and found the reactor controls, a holographic interface he couldn't fully understand but recognized as critical. According to the scenario, he had 90 seconds before detonation. Odin studied the alien technology, his enhanced intellect processing patterns and systems. The Covenant used plasma reactors, he surmised, contained by magnetic fields and fed by some exotic fuel source. The detonation sequence would be there, a command node pulsing with ominous red energy. Odin didn't know the Covenant language, but universal principles of engineering suggested this was the abort mechanism. He reached out, hesitated. If he was wrong, he'd trigger the explosion early. A king's decisiveness. Odin pressed the node. The red pulsing stopped. The reactor stabilized. The simulation froze. Scenario complete, the AI announced. Time, 6 minutes, 18 seconds. All hostile forces eliminated. Objective achieved. Reactor secured. 0 casualties. The simulation dissolved, leaving Odin standing in the empty holodeck. His armor was scored with plasma burns, simulated damage that felt real enough, and his breathing came heavy. The Odin force within him had retreated to a flickering ember, exhausted. The door hissed open. Master Chief entered, followed by Keyes and Johnson. That, Johnson said slowly, was the most insane combat performance I've seen outside of Spartans, and you did it with a spear and parlor tricks. Not parlor tricks, Keyes corrected, studying her data pad. Energy manipulation, superhuman physical capabilities, and tactical awareness that suggests either extensive combat experience or precognitive abilities, possibly both. I am neither prophet nor sorcerer, Odin said, leaning on Gungnir. Merely a warrior who has fought too many battles to count. Master Chief approached, and for the first time, Odin heard something like respect in the Spartan's voice. Combat effectiveness confirmed. Tactical value, significant. Recommendation, operational integration, autonomous asset classification. You're saying Oni should leave him alone? Johnson asked. I'm saying the UNSC needs warriors who can face zealots and win. The chief looked at Odin directly. The Covenant doesn't send zealots to defend corvettes. They're elite units, deployed to critical targets. You eliminated 4 in under 4 minutes. You eliminate more, Odin observed. I'm a Spartan too. We were designed for this. A pause that felt weighted. You chose it. The distinction mattered, Odin realized. The Spartans were weapons from childhood, while he had become a warrior through centuries of choice and consequence. Both paths led to the same battlefield, but the journeys were vastly different. The question remains, Keyes said, what we do with you. Oni will be en route the moment we file this report. They'll want you contained, studied, or deployed. Probably all 3. Odin straightened, the weariness falling away. Then we have a choice before us, Captain. I can face your intelligence service as prisoner or ally. I recommend the latter. And what does that alliance entail? I fight your war, Odin said simply. I learn about this covenant, these halos, this galaxy's desperate struggle. And when opportunities arise to strike back against those who would glass entire worlds, I stand with humanity's warriors. He looked at Master Chief. With your Spartans, if they'll have me. I have fought alongside heroes and legends across 9 realms. I recognize kindred spirits when I meet them. The Spartan was silent for a long moment. Then, almost imperceptibly, he nodded. Welcome to the war, Allfather, Keyes said. I hope you survive it. The briefing room aboard the Inamber-clad had transformed into a war room. Holographic displays dominated the space, showing tactical data that painted humanity's desperate situation in harsh light. Odin stood beside Master Chief, studying star charts where human colonies were marked in amber and where dozens had been crossed out in red, each representing a world turned to glass. "This is the Colonial Administration Authority database," Keyes explained, manipulating the display. "Every red marker is a colony we've lost to Covenant glassing. Harvest, where you arrived, was the first. That was 27 years ago. Since then, we've lost over 800 million civilians and counting." Odin's expression darkened. 800 million. In Asgard's long history, he'd witnessed wars that claimed thousands, even tens of thousands. But nearly 1 billion souls extinguished in 3 decades. "Your species fights extinction. We fight survival," Johnson corrected. "Extinction is what happens if we lose." The display shifted, showing Covenant ship classifications. Odin studied them with a tactician's eye. CCS-class battlecruisers, CAS-class assault carriers, CPV-class heavy destroyers. Each vessel dwarfed UNSC counterparts, their plasma weaponry capable of melting through titanium, A armor plating like wax. "Covenant technology is superior in every measurable way," Keyes continued. "Their ships are faster, better armed, better shielded. Their plasma weapons bypass our armor. Their energy shields stop our bullets. In ship-to-ship combat, we lose 3-1 on a good day." "Then how do you survive?" Odin asked. Master Chief answered, "We adapt, unconventional tactics. Boarding actions, targeted strikes, and Spartans." The hologram shifted again, this time showing armor schematics, Mjolnir Mark VI. Odin studied the technical specifications with appreciation. The humans had created remarkable technology despite their relative youth as a spacefaring species. "Spartans are humanity's most effective weapon," Keyes said. "Augmented soldiers in powered armor, trained from childhood, capable of operating independently behind enemy lines. They've turned the tide of battles we should have lost." Odin heard the careful phrasing. Trained from childhood. The Spartans were child soldiers, though Keyes wouldn't say it directly. He thought of his own sons, Thor's brash courage, Loki's cunning brilliance, both raised in Asgard's warrior culture, but never stripped of choice or childhood. "How many Spartans remain?" Odin asked quietly. The room fell silent. Johnson looked away. Keyes' expression tightened. Master Chief answered with the same flat tone he used for all tactical data. "Classified, operational security," which meant the number was small enough that revealing it would be strategically damaging. Odin understood. When your most effective weapons could be counted rather than fielded in armies, you protected that information zealously. "Tell me of the Covenant structure," Odin said, redirecting. "You mentioned religion drives them. What faith demands genocide?" Keyes pulled up new displays, images of Covenant species, their hierarchical structure, intercepts of their communications. "The Covenant is a hegemony of multiple alien species united by worship of the Forerunners, an ancient civilization that disappeared 100,000 years ago. They believe the Forerunners achieved godhood through activating the Halo installations, and that following their path will grant them the same transcendence." "But the Halos are weapons," Odin said, remembering what he'd been told. "Weapons designed to kill all sentient life in the galaxy," Johnson confirmed. "The Forerunners built them to starve out a parasite called the Flood, the most dangerous thing this galaxy has ever seen. They fired the rings once before, wiped out their own civilization and every other spacefaring species to deny the Flood hosts." Odin absorbed this, his mind racing through implications. "And the Covenant seeks to activate these weapons again, believing it will grant divinity. The prophets who lead them know the truth," Keyes said grimly. "At least, we think they do. They've had access to Forerunner archives, translated their language. But they perpetuate the lie because it maintains their power. The Sangheli, the Kigyar, the other species, They believe they're fighting a holy war. And humanity, Odin asked. Where do you fit in this theology? Master Chief's posture shifted slightly. The Covenant calls us an affront to the gods, heretics who must be destroyed. Why? The question hung in the air. Keyes and Johnson exchanged glances, and Odin sensed he'd touched on something classified or uncertain. We don't know for certain, Keyes admitted. Oni has theories. The Forerunners left behind technology that responds to human genetic markers. We can interface with it, activate it when other species can't. The Covenant calls us reclaimers. There's evidence suggesting humans might be descended from Forerunners, or they chose us as inheritors, or the prophets fear what humans represent, Odin finished. If humanity can activate Forerunner technology, it undermines Covenant religious doctrine. You prove their beliefs false simply by existing. That's the theory, Johnson said. Doesn't matter much when they're glassing planets, though. Dead heretics can't question theology. Odin studied the holographic display of a Covenant fleet in formation, dozens of ships arranged in patterns that suggested both military precision and religious symbolism. He'd fought religious zealots before, seen how faith could turn ordinary warriors into unstoppable fanatics. But an entire interstellar hegemony, united by false doctrine and driven to exterminate a species that challenged their beliefs. You cannot defeat them, Odin said quietly. Not through conventional warfare. You lack the numbers, the technology, the resources. We know, Keyes replied, which is why we focus on survival, buying time, protecting Earth's location. That's the Cole Protocol. Any ship that might be captured or boarded is required to purge navigation data and self-destruct if necessary. The Covenant hasn't found Earth yet. When they do... She didn't finish. She didn't need to. Earth was humanity's fortress world, home to billions. If the Covenant found it, the war would end quickly. Show me the Halo installations, Odin commanded, his voice carrying the authority of kingship. These superweapons that both sides fight over. The display changed, showing a ring-shaped structure of staggering scale, 10,000 kilometers in diameter, rotating to generate artificial gravity, with land masses and oceans on its inner surface. Odin had seen Asgard's engineering marvels, had walked the Bifrost itself, but this was something else entirely. Installation 04, Keyes said. Discovered 6 months ago by the UNSC Pillar of Autumn after the fall of Reach. Master Chief was there. The Spartan's helmet dipped slightly in acknowledgement. The ring was a Forerunner research facility and weapon, Keyes continued. Designed to exterminate all sentient life within 25,000 light-years, the Covenant attempted activation. If they'd succeeded... She paused, letting the implication speak for itself. What stopped them? Odin asked. Master Chief destroyed the installation by detonating the Pillar of Autumn's fusion reactors, Johnson said, pride evident in his voice. Saved the galaxy, though the brass didn't hand out medals since it's all classified. Odin looked at the Spartan with new understanding. This warrior had faced a choice between destroying a priceless Forerunner artifact and allowing galactic extinction. He'd chosen correctly, without hesitation, because duty demanded it. How many Halo installations exist? Odin asked. 7 confirmed, Keyes replied. Maybe more. The Covenant is searching for them obsessively. Every one they find is another chance to accidentally trigger galactic sterilization while seeking transcendence. The tactical situation crystallized in Odin's mind with absolute clarity. Humanity fought a war it couldn't win against an enemy that worshipped weapons capable of ending all life. The Spartans were brilliant stopgap measures, but ultimately insufficient against Covenant numbers and technology. And somewhere in the galaxy, parasitic horrors called the Flood waited to be unleashed by religious zealots or desperate commanders. You need more than warriors, Odin said. You need miracles. Miracles are in short supply, Johnson replied. We make do with Spartans and marine grit. And now, Odin said slowly, you have an Allfather who understands desperate wars and impossible odds. He met Master Chief's golden visor. Tell me truthfully, Spartan, if I stand with you in the battles ahead, will humanity's warriors accept a stranger who claims kingship and commands lightning? The Spartan was silent for several seconds, a lifetime in tactical conversation. Then, Spartans don't care about titles, only capability and reliability. You've demonstrated both. The Marines will follow anyone who kills Covenant, Johnson added. Especially someone who can take down zealots, like you did in the simulation. Word spreads fast on military ships. Oni is another matter, Keyes warned. They'll be here within 12 hours. Commander Palmer and her Spartan full fire team are en route to assess and secure you, which means they'll test you, interrogate you, and probably try to put a control collar on you. Odin's eye hardened. I have dealt with intelligence services before. Heimdall, who saw all secrets. Loki, who traded in deception. I will not be collared like a beast, Captain. Then you'll need allies before Oni arrives, Keyes said. Master Chief, you're technically attached to Oni Section 3. What's your assessment? The Spartan's head turned toward Odin, and for a long moment, they studied each other. Two warriors separated by centuries and universes, united by understanding of what duty demanded. Operational recommendation, Master Chief said finally. Integrate Allfather Odin as independent asset, special warfare designation. Deploy alongside Spartan operations, full tactical autonomy, no command authority over UNSC personnel, but operational cooperation expected. Classification, strategic asset, handle with Spartan-level clearance. It was more autonomy than Odin had expected and said everything about Master Chief's judgment. The Spartan recognized that attempting to control the Allfather would fail, but offering partnership might succeed. I can forward that recommendation, Keyes said. But Oni makes final determination, and they're not known for flexibility. Then we have 12 hours, Odin said, to ensure they understand my value exceeds the risk of my independence. What operations require immediate attention? Where can I demonstrate that an Allfather fights beside Spartans, not beneath bureaucrats? Johnson grinned. I like how you think, old man. As it happens, we've got intelligence on a Covenant supply depot 3 systems away. Lightly defended, but the intel is time-sensitive. We lose it in 24 hours when their fleet rotates in. You're suggesting a raid, Keyes said slowly. Before Oni arrives to lock down our new asset. I'm suggesting we demonstrate operational value, Johnson replied. Besides, Oni can't complain if we're gathering critical intelligence, can they? Keyes looked at Master Chief. The Spartan's posture suggested agreement, or at least acceptance of the tactical logic. Allfather, Keyes said, turning to Odin. Are you combat ready? The simulation was one thing. Real plasma burns differently than hard light. Odin hefted Gungnir, feeling the Odin force slowly rebuilding within him. Still diminished, still uncertain in this universe, but present. I have fought frost giants in Jotunheim's wastes, marauders in Vanaheim's forests, and dark elves in Svartalfheim's depths. I have led armies across 9 realms and defended Asgard from threats your species cannot imagine. I am ready, Captain. Then we launch in 2 hours, Keyes decided. Master Chief, you'll lead the operation. Take Blue Team if they're available. Allfather, you're attached as independent operator. You'll coordinate with Chief, but maintain tactical autonomy. Johnson, You'll command the Marine support element. "Oorah," Johnson said. "Time to show the Covenant what happens when Vikings join the fight." As the briefing concluded and personnel moved to prepare for deployment, Master Chief approached Odin. The Spartan extended his armored hand. "Welcome to the war," the chief said. "Don't die. Humanity needs every warrior it can get." Odin clasped the offered hand, feeling the servo-assisted strength in the Spartan's grip. "In Asgard, we have a saying, victory or Valhalla. There is no shame in falling in glorious battle, only in refusing to fight." "In the UNSC," Master Chief replied, "we have a different saying. Spartans never die, they're just missing in action." Odin smiled grimly. Different cultures, different philosophies, but the same core truth. Warriors who accepted death as possibility, but refused to surrender. The Allfather was ready to prove that gods could bleed beside mortals. The Pelican dropship screamed through the upper atmosphere of circumstance, a barren moon whose only value was its position along Covenant supply lines. Odin stood in the troop bay alongside Master Chief and 3 other Spartans, Blue Team, humanity's most elite fire team. Linda 058 occupied the starboard weapons station, her sniper rifle secured across her armored back. She'd spoken only once during the flight. "Can you compensate for Covenant active camouflage with that lightning trick?" Odin had assured her he could detect energy signatures through the Odin Force, and she'd nodded once, satisfied. Fred 104 checked his combat knife with methodical precision, the blade gleaming in the Pelican's red combat lighting. He tested Odin with a simple question. "You ever fought in zero gravity?" When Odin admitted he hadn't, Fred had spent 10 minutes explaining tactical movement in vacuum environments. The Allfather listened, recognized the briefing as both education and evaluation, and appreciated the Spartan's professionalism. Kelly 087, the fastest Spartan, drummed her fingers against her thigh with restless energy. She'd asked nothing, simply studied Odin with the focus of someone cataloging threat assessment. He suspected she was calculating whether she could outrun his lightning if this alliance went wrong. 2 minutes to drop, the pilot announced. Covenant patrols are running standard rotation. Window opens in 90 seconds. Master Chief pulled up a holographic tactical display from his armor's wrist-mounted interface. Mission parameters: infiltrate supply depot, secure Covenant BattleNet encryption codes, destroy antimatter storage, extract. Time on target, 15 minutes maximum before reinforcements arrive. Antimatter, Odin repeated. You're certain that's wise to engage? We don't engage it, Fred said. We overload the containment fields and leave. The resulting explosion will be visible from orbit, but will be long gone. Covenant antimatter storage protocols are automated, Kelly added. They use Huragok, engineers, to maintain the systems, non-combatants. We avoid them unless they interfere. Odin noted the distinction. Even in desperate war, these Spartans maintained rules of engagement. The engineers were non-combatants, so they'd be spared if possible. It spoke to a moral code that hadn't been completely eroded by decades of survival warfare. Allfather, Master Chief said, you'll operate independently, but coordinate through TeamCom. We've rigged you a communicator. He held out a small device. Subvocal pickup, encrypted channel. You won't have full Spartan neural interface, but you'll hear tactical updates. Odin accepted the communicator, fitting it to his ear. The technology felt crude compared to Asgardian designs, but functional. Understood. What opposition do you expect? Light garrison, Linda said from her position. Maybe 20 Ungoi, 6 to 8 Kigyar, 2 Sangheli overseers. The real threat is the automated defenses, plasma turrets on predictive AI targeting. They'll track movement patterns and lead shots. Then we move unpredictably, Odin said. Kelly's helmet tilted slightly. Can you keep up? It was a fair question. The Spartans moved with enhanced speed, their Mjolnir armor augmenting already superhuman reflexes. Odin was fast by mortal standards, enhanced by Asgardian physiology, but he'd never matched Kelly's legendary velocity. I will manage, Odin replied diplomatically. 30 seconds, the pilot called. Ground team, prepare for hot drop. The Pelican's bay doors opened, revealing Circumstance's rocky surface 300 meters below. Wind screamed through the opening, and Odin felt the artificial gravity struggle against atmospheric turbulence. The Spartans moved to the edge with practiced ease, checking weapons and shield systems. Master Chief looked back at Odin. Stay close on the descent. The drop pods are calibrated for Spartan weight and armor. You're going out the old-fashioned way. Before Odin could ask what that meant, Kelly grabbed his arm and jumped. The Allfather experienced a moment of pure shock as they plummeted through thin atmosphere. Kelly's shields flared against wind resistance, her armor systems compensating for the ballistic trajectory. Odin called on the Odin Force instinctively, wrapping them both in energy that cushioned their descent. Nice trick, Kelly said through Team Comm, her voice level despite the terminal velocity. Can you stick the landing? Odin channeled more power, feeling it drain his reserves. The ground rushed up with terrifying speed, jagged rocks and hard-packed regolith that would shatter bones even with Asgardian durability. At the last possible moment, Odin released the stored energy downward in a concussive blast. They hit hard but survivable, the impact crater spreading 15 meters in all directions. Kelly released him and rolled to her feet in one fluid motion, battle rifle already tracking for targets. The other Spartans landed in a loose perimeter, Master Chief's shields flaring bright as he absorbed kinetic energy, Fred using his thrusters for a controlled descent, and Linda dropping with sniper precision to an elevated position. Within seconds, Blue Team had established a defensive formation that covered all approaches. Show off, Fred muttered, glancing at Odin's crater. Next time, try subtle. Apologies, Odin said, hefting Gungnir. I'm accustomed to making dramatic entrances. Contacts, 200 meters northeast, Linda reported. Kigyar patrol, 4 hostiles. They've spotted our landing. Master Chief's decision was immediate. Linda, suppress. Kelly, Fred, flank right. Allfather, you're with me. We push center. The Spartans moved before the order finished echoing through Team Comm. Odin followed Master Chief's lead, impressed by the instantaneous coordination. These warriors operated with unity, forged through decades of training together. No hesitation, no confusion, absolute trust. Linda's sniper rifle cracked 3 times in rapid succession. Through the Odin Force-enhanced senses, Odin perceived each shot tracking across the distance, supersonic rounds that bypassed Kigyar energy shields by hitting exposed portions with surgical precision. 3 targets dropped. The 4th activated a communicator, squawking alerts in its native language. They've called reinforcements, Fred reported. Time compression. We've got maybe 10 minutes before the garrison responds in force. Master Chief accelerated to combat speed. His Mjolnir armor's servos whining as he covered ground with inhuman strides. Odin matched pace, his own enhanced physiology allowing him to keep up, if not overtake. They crested a ridge and saw the supply depot below. The facility sprawled across a natural crater, prefabricated structures in Covenant purple and silver, connected by energy bridges that hummed with anti-gravity fields. Plasma turrets dotted the perimeter, their automated targeting systems sweeping for threats. At the center stood a larger structure that pulsed with contained energy, the antimatter storage chief had mentioned. Turrets are active, Kelly reported from her flanking position. Predictive targeting algorithms, just like Intel suggested. They're tracking our approach vectors. Allfather, Master Chief said. Can your lightning disable them? Odin studied the turrets, perceiving their energy signatures through his enhanced senses. They operated on principles similar to Asgardian plasma containment, but cruder, more volatile. Possibly, but the discharge will alert every Covenant warrior in the facility. We're already detected, Fred said. The Kigyar's alert went through before Linda could drop it. Garrison is mobilizing. Indeed, Odin could see movement below. Ungoi streaming from barracks structures, their methane tanks glinting in circumstances pale sunlight. Kigyar snipers took elevated positions, and 2 Sangheli in crimson armor emerged from the central command structure, energy swords already ignited. Plan adjustment, Master Chief said with calm authority. Allfather takes point, disrupts turrets. Blue team provides covering fire and moves on objectives. Linda, find a position and provide overwatch. Kelly, you're fastest. Get to the command center and pull those encryption codes. Fred and I secure the antimatter storage. And what happens when the antimatter detonates while you're standing next to it? Odin asked. We leave before that happens, Chief replied. On my mark, mark! Odin launched himself down the ridge, Gungnir gleaming as he gathered the Odin force. Lightning arced from the spear's point, not a single bolt, but a cascading chain that leapt from turret to turret. The Covenant technology overloaded in sequence, plasma containment fields rupturing in small explosions that sent shrapnel spraying across the depot. The garrison responded with disciplined fire. Plasma bolts and crystalline needles filled the air, tracking Odin's approach with terrifying accuracy. His Asgardian durability absorbed glancing hits that would have killed unarmored humans, but concentrated fire would overwhelm even his enhanced physiology. Master Chief and Fred moved through the chaos like ghosts, their active camouflage bending light around their armor as they disappeared from normal sight. Odin could still perceive them through energy signatures, but the Covenant warriors focused on the obvious threat, the warrior with the lightning spear carving through their defensive line. Kelly became a blur of motion, her enhanced speed allowing her to cross open ground before plasma turrets could track. She vaulted over barricades, slid beneath energy bridges, and reached the command center in seconds. Her entry was marked by plasma explosions from inside as she engaged whatever forces had remained to guard the codes. Odin reached the first Sangheli, and their blades met, Gungnir's Uru steel against superheated plasma. The elite was skilled, its strikes precisely calculated, but it had never faced a warrior with millennia of experience. Odin redirected the first attack, stepped inside the elite's guard, and drove Gungnir through its mandibles into the brain beyond. The warrior collapsed without ceremony. The second elite roared challenge and charged. Behind it, Ungoi provided suppressing fire, their plasma pistols overheating as they frantically tried to bring down this new threat. Odin called on the Odin force again, exhaustion beginning to drag at his consciousness, and released a shockwave that scattered the grunts like leaves. Codes acquired, Kelly reported. Extracting now. Allfather, you've got incoming. Covenant dropship, 30 seconds out. Odin looked up and saw it. A phantom dropship descending on anti-gravity fields, its lateral plasma cannons already charging. This was the reinforcement they'd feared, arriving faster than intelligence had predicted. Fred, status? Master Chief's voice held no panic, only tactical assessment. Antimatter containment overloaded, Fred replied. Detonation in 4 minutes. We need to extract now. Linda, can you disable that phantom? Chief asked. Negative, the sniper replied. Armor's too thick for rifle penetration. Need heavy weapons or... I have it, Odin interrupted. He'd been conserving strength, trying to preserve the diminished Odin force for emergencies. This qualified. The Allfather planted Gungnir in the ground and drew deeply on his power reserves, accepting that this would leave him dangerously depleted. The sky darkened. Storm clouds gathered with unnatural speed, responding to Odin's will, even in this universe that fought his every command. Thunder rolled across circumstances' barren landscape, and lightning answered the Allfather's call. The bolt that struck the Phantom wasn't the continent-destroying force Odin could summon in Asgard. But it was enough. Electrical discharge overloaded the dropship's systems, its anti-gravity fields failing catastrophically. The Phantom listed, spun, and crashed into the depot's perimeter with an impact that shook the ground. Odin staggered, vision swimming. He'd pushed too hard, drawn too deeply on reserves that couldn't replenish properly in this universe. The Odin force within him guttered like a dying flame. "Allfather's down," Fred's voice. Strong hands gripped Odin's arms, Master Chief on one side, Fred on the other, supporting his weight. "Can you move?" "Yes," Odin managed, though his legs felt like lead. "The antimatter?" 3 minutes, Chief confirmed. "Kelly, Fred, support Allfather. Linda, fall back to extraction point. I'll provide rear guard." They moved, and even in his depleted state, Odin marveled at Spartan efficiency. Fred and Kelly carried him between them while maintaining defensive positions, their enhanced strength allowing them to bear his weight without slowing significantly. Master Chief walked backward, his assault rifle barking controlled bursts that kept pursuing Covenant forces at bay. Linda's sniper fire cracked from elevated positions, each shot precisely placed to disrupt enemy pursuit. A Kig Yar dropped, an Ungoy's methane tank ruptured, a Sangheli's shields flared and failed under repeated hits. The Pelican screamed overhead, Johnson's voice coming through teamcomm. "Extraction zone hot! Move your asses, Spartans!" They reached the landing zone as plasma fire intensified. The Pelican's door gunner, a Marine whose hands were rock steady despite incoming fire, provided suppressing bursts from the rotating cannon. The Spartans loaded Odin aboard with practiced efficiency, then followed in sequence, Kelly first, then Fred, Linda covering their retreat with final sniper shots, and Master Chief last, his shield sparking under concentrated plasma bombardment. "Go, go, go!" Chief shouted. The Pelican lifted off, engines straining against gravity and atmosphere. Through the open bay door, Odin watched the supply depot recede. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the antimatter storage detonated. The explosion was soundless in vacuum, but visible as pure white light that washed across circumstance's surface. The shockwave followed seconds later, rocking the Pelican even at altitude. When the light faded, the depot was simply gone. A crater, kilometers wide, marked where it had existed. "Mission accomplished," Master Chief reported. Encryption codes secured, supply depot destroyed, team intact. Allfather performed above expectations despite unknown power limitations. Odin managed a weak smile from where he lay against the Pelican's bulkhead. Gungnir clutched loosely. "Unknown limitations that nearly killed me." "But didn't," Kelly said, removing her helmet. Her face was young, impossibly young for a warrior of her caliber, and bore the same 1,000-yard stare Odin had seen in veterans across 9 realms. "You kept pace with Spartans and pulled lightning from the sky. That's more than most. The question," Fred added, "is whether you can do it again, because Oni is going to want to know your operational ceiling before they decide what to do with you." Master Chief sat beside Odin, his golden visor reflecting the Allfather's exhausted features. "You fought well, adapted to unfamiliar tactics, trusted Spartan judgment, completed objectives despite personal cost. That matters more than raw power." "In Asgard," Odin said quietly. Kings command from thrones and send warriors to die for glory. I have forgotten what it means to bleed beside those I would lead." He looked at each Spartan in turn. "Thank you for reminding me." The silence that followed held more weight than words. These child soldiers who'd never known normal lives, who'd been forged into weapons because humanity's survival demanded it, had accepted an ancient god king as battle brother. Not because of his titles or power, but because he'd proven willing to stand with them when plasma burned and death waited. "Welcome to Blue Team, Allfather," Linda said simply. And for the first time since the Bifrost shattered, Odin felt he'd found his place in this desperate war.